Film, because we've got no time to waste. Let's kick things off with Quentin Tarantino's 8th film, The Hateful Eight.
So The Hateful Eight was filmed in 70mm. We didn't get to see it because it was in Leicester Square only in 70mm, but I don't think that really mattered in the end because it still looked great. Hateful Eight picks up in a carriage a few years after the Civil War. We've got John Roth, played by Kurt Russell with his magnificent moustache, carrying Daisy Donoghue, played by Jennifer Jason Leigh, across the west to, well, hang basically because he is a bounty hunter, and they come across Samuel Jackson on a pile of bodies, and he is a bounty hunter too. He used to be an ex-major in the Civil War. He has got a pile of bodies that he wants to bring on board. Kurt Russell allows them to bring him on board, and they head off towards Red Rock, where Kurt Russell is going to hang Jennifer Jason Leigh. However, there's a blizzard, and they come across Minnie's Haberdashery, which is a fantastic name for a place, a setting. I'd imagine writing that in the script, just you'd never get tired of it. They come across this place, and they come across the colourful cast of characters who are all, well, the other members of the Hateful Eight, even though there's more than 8. But, you know, everyone was going to count that. They're all. There's more than 8.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we
can't say exactly what number.
Yeah, but there's more than 8. Involving Tim Roth, who is Oswaldo, who is the new hangman of Red Rock, and Walton Goggins' character, who is the new sheriff of the town. They come across him on the way to Minnie's Haberdashery. Michael Madsen, playing the biggest cowboy stereotype you can imagine, the cowpuncher, and Bruce Dern sitting old in a chair. And they're all it's just your typical crazy Tarantino cast of characters who all come together to create something compelling. Now, it was a big choice, I thought. I was not expecting this to be all in one location, essentially. Most of it is in Minnie's Haberdashery, and when he's filmed it in 70mm, and only use it mainly indoors, is a great decision by him because it allows him to fill the frame with the characters and let the dialogue and the action play out exactly as he wants to, with everything that he wants in frame. And the whole cast works so perfectly, and because it is a character piece, that is why it works so well, because if the characters didn't work as well as he wanted them to, then it just wouldn't come off at all. Because when you've got a script as strong as Tarantino can write, when you've got his usual cast, I mean, he's got all the Tarantino sort of favourites in there, from Michael Madsen to Bruce Dern and Kurt Russell, all of his favourites, they're all back, and he's got sort of the compelling cast of characters that he needs to pull this off, and they're all fantastic. Samuel Jackson Samuel Jackson, renowned for the speeches that he does in a lot of the films, for his angry fury, I guess, righteous fury, that's the best way to put it, and just all of his really, I mean, he's a fantastically talented actor, and he is really, really good in what he does, and the dialogue from him is just superb. I mean, Jennifer Jason Leigh, I mean, there was many women screen tested for this role, but I think she could only been of the one choice, because she is absolutely fantastic. One scene with the guitar is in particular, it was absolutely exceptional for me, and that is one of my highlights of the whole film. I mean, everyone from Kurt Russell, who is fantastic as the cold, icy hangman who's only got one job in his mind, and that's to get Jennifer Jason Leigh to hang. Tim Roth playing this sort of really poorly English accented man who's got a secret up his sleeve. Michael Madsen playing that stereotype character. Even Bruce Dern sitting in his chair. Walton Goggins especially playing that fantastically eccentric, usual Walton Goggins character. I really love Walton Goggins. And that man is really fantastic. I mean,
Big note, if you have not seen Justified,
watch it. I mean, it's absolutely fantastic, yeah. But I mean, despite the fact that the script flows really well, and I really enjoyed watching that unfold, and the cast is fantastic, top to bottom, and essentially it looks absolutely fantastic because of the 70mm, even though we didn't get to see it in the intended format. It is really good to see, and obviously sound as well, because of Ennio Morricone's score. He uses probably the best soundtrack theme from The Thing, which wasn't actually used in The Thing in this movie, and he uses a few other cues, like from The Last House on the Left as well, which is really strange to see. But it's a really good score, it's really eclectic, and it's really mixed up, and it's really varied, and I really like to see that. It's just, I mean, the first time in 40 years he's done a Western, Morricone, so it's to his credit that he's come back and done something really good as this. But despite the fact that I did enjoy it when it got going, and it did become that character piece with that bleeding blend of typical Tarantino absolute hyper-violence and characterization and brilliant dialogue, I do think it took a half an hour too long to get going, and I do think that was to the film's discredit, because I was sort of wondering, when are they going to get to Minnie's Haberdashery and the Hateful Eight's going to really kick off, and we're really going to get to see the Tarantinoisms that I've came for. And that is why I didn't enjoy it as much as Liam probably did, and I know a lot of other people. I mean, it's got 74% on Rotten Tomatoes, which I think is about fair, because while it was really good, and it was a good watch, and I'm glad we saw it in the cinema, because it looked, sounded fantastic, and it was acted really well with a great script by Tarantino, I do think that its flaws were too much to make it excellent for me, and it's definitely not one of my favourites from Tarantino. It's not bad at all, it's really good, but it's just not up there with the likes of Pulp Fiction or Reservoir Dogs or even Kill Bill for me.
Joe?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, Pretty much agree with a lot of things you said. Being too long, I never really felt there was any moments that drag, but looking back, I can see there are moments where you probably could have cut it down, especially mainly in the sense of dialogue. Some some trade-off didn't really need to be that.
It's just like Quentin writing for the sake of writing.
Some moments, yeah. But I mean, overall, it's certainly a good watch. But yeah, it's not the best out of all these films. The 70mm, accusations of why with this, I think are fine. I liked the use of it. Because everybody obviously thinks Panavision 70mm, the big epics and all this kind of stuff, and obviously he's pretty much shot like 90% of it, all interiors. But I think it works, because it's nice to see, like, it is really interesting to see things going on the frame with all the different characters, and then literally any time he wants to see a character go from the other side of the room to talk, he literally has to pan just a touch to the right, which is fascinating to see. As well as that, like obviously, he does it in chapters. Like before chapter 1, the opening, I was very surprised by Tarantino's camera movement, on the Jesus statue and like the slow, like panning out and everything, which was fascinating. But I don't know. I mean, they are memorable characters in it, but compared to some of these others, they're not as memorable because of personally the storyline, which obviously I can't spoil, the way it goes, or all the secrets when they're revealed. It didn't really.
I feel like when the secrets came out, it became a much lesser film.
Yeah, it wasn't really satisfying to me. The tension it creates, everything is fantastic, especially between Samuel Jackson's character and Walton Goggins.
Yeah.
They're both they bounce off each other absolutely brilliantly. And for me, hands down, Walton Goggins, he stole the show.
Yeah, him and Jennifer Jason.
Anytime his character was on screen, I was fully in focus and fully engaged. Absolutely fantastic. And of course, big fan of Justified. Need to say it. Boy crowd is amazing. But overall, it was certainly a good watch, but out of all the Tarantino's films, it's one that I won't be itching to watch again, to be honest.
But I must stress that I really did enjoy it. It is a good film. It's just not up there with his best. That's what I'm trying to say.
Right. Well, I'm not one to rank Tarantino films. I think there's literally no point.
No.
It's not
like
possible.
If I had to choose one to watch right now, it wouldn't be The Hateful Eight.
Right. Well, I don't work like that. I couldn't with him because all his work is so different. I mean, this is his sort of third Western of sorts, but no, I'm certainly not saying it's perfect. I'm not gonna like gush about it. There's certainly things that didn't work. I think it does sort of reveal too early. It is about 2 hours in a film that's about 2 hours 45. So you've got like 45 minutes where it's kind of just waiting for it to wrap up and kind of just unraveling a few more layers until it's finished and there's nothing left. That's kind of all that last 45 is.
Yeah, essentially.
Because once you've had the big reveal, it's kind of like, okay, fine. But then you just enjoy what happens after that point, and you get this sort of Tarantino hyper-violence, which you come to expect. The complaint that everyone seems to have is its length and its sort of discipline, I guess. And I think it's not going to win any new fans over, I don't think. I mean, if you like Tarantino, you like him because
it is very Tarantino.
If you like him, you'll like this because you like his dialogue style. And I don't think there's much that could be cut. I don't mind that it's long because I think it has that sort of epic feel to it. I think it's interesting that a lot of it is inside, and the whole 70mm thing, the lesser spotted 275 aspect ratio, which is very, very wide. And I like all the stuff that goes on in the background, which is really, really interesting. It's an Agatha Christie Tarantino film, like a sort of murder mystery, which is like fascinating, something I never expected him to do. It's not perfect, but certainly I liked it very much, and I'm not going to say it's better than blah blah blah, because if you did that, I mean, things like Django would be like second bottom or something.
Yeah,
you couldn't possibly say that. No, I really, really enjoy it. It's a very special experience. Tarantino's gone to a great length of trouble to make an experience, not just a film. He's clearly very enthusiastic about films, which can be to his detriment sometimes, but I can't really complain about him too much because I think he's a good filmmaker, and he's a good film lover, and you can't argue with that.
I mean, this time around, it's easily one of his best sounding, one of his best looking, one of his best films aesthetically. It is fantastic in all of those regards, and the film is fantastically just a generally joy to watch when the characters are interacting with each other and when you get to see those big dialogue moments. But I do feel like it could have just trimmed a bit of the fat from the story, for me personally. I can understand why people love it, those who love it really love it, but just personally, when I see Tarantino's other work, it's just not as strong. But I'm not comparing them in that regard. I just didn't get that same feeling of euphoria as when I saw the other ones of his work.
Fine. We're all recommending it, I'm guessing.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, still recommend it.
But I think with this week, it's important to sort of say who's gonna like what, because these 4 films today are all big films that a lot of people do like. It's important to sort of recommend based on taste. I think if you're not a fan of Tarantino, probably not gonna like this. It's very hyper-violent, as you come to expect from him. It's very quite gory in parts, over the top gory, but gory nonetheless. And of course, he's very famed for his sort of choice of language and choice of sort of gender politics.
Yeah.
You know, Jennifer Jason Leigh gets a lot of, but she
in
gives it,
regards
but
to
she
the
gives
violence,
it back, which is important.
The first big act of violence towards Jennifer Jason Leigh is very sort of looked down upon. So I think this is probably one of his smartest, maybe most sociable movies in terms of his gender politics and his attitude toward race. I feel as well. I don't know if he's agree with me on that, but I feel like he's a lot more sensitive.
He's definitely gone for something along those lines, especially with the characters like in
I hesitate to say a mature Tarantino, but
no, he's still a jabbering little kid.
Yeah.
Anyway,
but no, I mean, there's a very patient build-up as well. I think that's needs to be said in terms of choosing a film.
That's why I don't.
Not as a bad thing.
That's why I don't think it's too long, because
if you feel like it's patient character piece.
If you like his work, you'll understand that he's a very patient filmmaker. None of it needs to be taken out, because that's just all part of it. That's every little bit. Although it might seem like fatty and unnecessary, it adds in. You get a sense of these characters. It's a character piece. So all of these conversations are extra details that add into the story. So I don't think it's too long. And I think it's perfect.
Maybe if I watched it again, but I probably won't.
And if it sticks to his guns, only a couple more Tarantino.